This is the Padua Podcast Network.
And there was just this huge pile of pig pancreases. It's crazy, but that's how they used to do it. And hey, it worked. So, Running a Fever, episode 249, Diabetes. Welcome to Running a Fever. My name's Michael Davis. I just want to live a long, healthy, happy, active life right up to the very end. And if that's your goal, then you're in the right place. This is a podcast about a fitness journey. And I share with you information that I get while I'm trying to learn about health and about how to have a healthier life. I always like those commercials with Wilford Brimley about diabetes. It's kind of funny. But for all those people who suffer from the disease, of course, it is no laughing matter. It can be pronounced diabetes or DIE-A-BEET-IS. The full name is Diabetes Mellitus. The name comes from the Greek diabetes, meaning siphon, and the Latin mellitus, meaning sweet. Now, people who have diabetes have an impaired ability to produce or respond to the hormone insulin, which regulates metabolism of carbohydrates. This causes elevated levels of glucose in the blood and urine. There are several types, and we'll take a look at each of these. The disease affects about 463 million people worldwide, and the trend is toward an increase in the rate, which currently amounts to almost 9% of the adult population. So you may be asking, why do I care? Basically, how can this disease harm me? Well, here are some of the problems that can develop as a result of diabetes, both short-term and long-term. The first one is diabetic ketoacidosis. I won't go into the process, but DKA, as it's called, decreases the blood's pH, causing dehydration, rapid breathing, and severe abdominal pain, and can lead to hypotension, unhealthy low blood pressure, shock, and death. The second is hypoglycemia hyperosmolar state, or HNS. Symptoms are similar to DKA. Additionally, dangerous levels of electrolyte imbalance are common, and progression to coma is possible. The third one is hypoglycemia, which is just low blood sugar. Symptoms are agitation, sweating, weakness, feeling of dread and panic, loss of consciousness, coma, seizures, and death. And number 4 is diabetic coma. Okay, hopefully by now you're convinced this is serious enough to get some more info, so let's move on. Now, there are 2 main types of diabetes and some others. Type 1 is the body simply does not produce insulin, which means the body's cells do not get the fuel they need in the form of glucose. Insulin controls the metabolism of blood sugar. Treatment requires insulin injections. Prior to the 1980s, insulin for treatment of diabetes came from the pancreases of pigs and other animals. And today it's produced by biotechnology firms using designer microorganisms. I was looking at this online. You can probably see it in one of my references, but there was a picture of, a company, which was a drug company that was producing insulin. And there was just this huge pile of pig pancreases. It's crazy, but that's how they used to do it. And hey, it worked. So, but now they have something more controlled. Type 2, this is the most common form. In type 2, the body doesn't use insulin properly. Except for those with double diabetes, people with type 2 diabetes do produce insulin. Treatment can include insulin, or it can be treated with drugs like metformin. Some people with type 2 diabetes can manage it solely with a proper diet. Now, if you've been around for a while, you may have heard type 1 referred to as childhood onset diabetes, juvenile diabetes, and insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. In the past, type 2 has been called adult onset diabetes, obesity-related diabetes, and non-insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. Now, they're just known as type 1 and type 2. Other types include gestational diabetes, maturity onset diabetes of the young, MODY, genetic mutations, and abnormal insulin, diabetes caused by various diseases of the pancreas, steroid diabetes. And when someone with type 1 develops type 2, this is called double diabetes. You can read about all of these, but most important thing about these other forms is to get an annual physical, which should reveal any risk of any of these different forms of diabetes. Now let's talk about prevention. There is no known way to prevent type 1 diabetes. You either just get it or you don't. There is a very informative article in the Mayo Clinic site which gives some tips for prevention of type 2. Number 1, get more exercise. Wow, why does this show up in every single problem that we bring up here? Get more exercise. Studies show that both aerobic exercise and resistance training, weightlifting, can help control diabetes. Exercise boosts your sensitivity to insulin. By the way, you can check your insulin resistance at your annual physical. Check with your doctor to make sure that's included in the blood tests. Number 2, get plenty of fiber. You get fiber in whole fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, and nuts. I've mentioned before that a healthy amount of fiber in your diet can dramatically decrease your risk of death from cardiovascular disease, the number 1 killer. Turns out it also helps regulate blood sugar and can help you lose weight by making you feel more full, so you eat less. Number 3, go for whole grains. Whole grains can reduce your risk of diabetes and help maintain a healthy blood sugar level. There's no known reason for this. Fortunately, this is pretty easy to do. I get whole grain crackers, hamburger buns, and bread in my grocery store. Number 4, lose extra weight. If you are overweight or obese, losing just a few pounds can decrease the risk of diabetes by as much as 60%. Number 5, skip fad diets and just make healthier choices. This is something, as you know, that I've always advocated. Become an expert at your own health and make changes as you can, form habits, and make it easier for yourself to be and stay healthy. As always, check the references in the show notes at runningafever.com/249. Everyone should probably check out diabetes.org, but there are some other good sources of info as well. Now, the rate of diabetes occurrence is such that everyone should take the risk of getting it seriously. You should get screened, but keeping diabetes at bay really doesn't require anything out of the ordinary. All the things you do to reduce stress, keep your heart healthy, prevent dementia, and just generally improve your health can also help keep diabetes at bay. I hope you've enjoyed this. Be sure to contact me, mail@runningafever.com, or you can make comments on the episode at runningafever.com/YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will talk to you next time. Until then, keep the fever. And if you don't have the fever, catch the fever.